So you are moving permanently out of Nigeria to another country. While some are moving permanently out of another country into what? Into Nigeria, right? So while an expatriate living in a foreign land might feel him or herself to be part of that new land and culture, an immigrant is more likely to become established in the country where he or she moved in and become part of the culture and new society. So I believe with this, we should be able to know the difference between immigrant, expatriate, as well as emigrant, because expatriate are just coming for some time being, and they have to go back after maybe rendering the professional service they came in to render. Now, what is the regulatory framework? Remember, for an expatriate to be in Nigeria, there are several procedures they need to pass through. There are some regulatory frameworks that guide how expatriates are supposed to, like, let's say, brought it into the countries. Several countries might have their own rules and regulation or their own procedures, right? So now, looking at the immigration cap law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2007, it provides the framework for employment of expatriates. So what it means is providing that framework for employment of expatriates in Nigeria and set the basis of their entry into, stay in, and exit from Nigeria to ensure that Nigeria companies, whether or not they are subsidiary of foreign companies, are able to access special skills or expertise that are not locally available in Nigerian market for their lines of businesses or operation, and also to allow easy migration of foreigners into Nigeria. So you see, the basic reason why some companies need the expatriates is that you go to some company, you'll be seeing some white men, some Indians, some Americans, some British, some Canadian people. But why they need them is that they need their skills, they need their expertise. Whether you are a company, as a company in Nigeria, whether you are an international company or a local company, the law says that you can bring in an expatriate provided you need their skills and their expertise for the sake of the company's operation. So the principal regulatory agency for immigration in Nigeria under the act is the Nigeria Immigration Service under the Federal Ministry of Interior. So immigration are the ones that determines how all these are being coordinated, which by default they fall under the Ministry of Interior. Now there are several categories, for instance, of which, let's say, several categories of visas and entry permits have been introduced to cover long and short-term and cover long as term assignments and short-term assignment. What it means is that even as an expatriate, even though you are coming into Nigeria, instead that you might be coming in for a short-term assignment, you might also be coming in for a what? For a long-term what? For a long-term assignment, right? So now, for a long-term assignment, what is the requirement? What it means is a Nigerian company which intends to employ expatriate must apply for and obtain expatriate quota position. So, as a company, before you even bring in expatriate, you need to apply with the Nigerian Immigration Services for an expatriate quota. Expatriate quota, because each company they are, I think, based on the immigration services. I can't remember the number of expatriates, but they based on your, let's say, your operation or the kind of service that you need, you are required, or maybe there's a limitation to the number of expatriates you need to bring into the country. So that contains the designation, the description of the expatriate work in Nigeria, and where an employer has available quota, which is expatriate quota position, the expatriate will have to apply for subject to regularization. That means they will have to regularize that quota as well, right? And that regularization has to do with the visa of that particular expatriate at the Nigeria Embassy or High Commission in the home country of the legal resident of that particular expatriate. So all these things they have to regularize it to know that there are people who are going to a particular country. In case anything happens, they will know their whereabouts. Now, in continuation, we said the expatriate that enters into the Nigeria was subject to regularization visa will surely be placed on the expatriate quota of Nigeria company and therefore considered to be a full-time employees of that particular company. And this subject to regularization visa means that is usually given for an initial period of 90 days, which is 3 months, right? And during which an application must be made to the Controller of Immigration for regularization of stay. Now, this will involve issuance of the 𝗕𝗲𝘅. The 𝗕𝗲𝘅 is being called the Combined Expatriate Resident Permit and Alien Card. So in as far as you have an expatriate, you also, this 𝗕𝗲𝘅 also must be issued to them to certify that yes, they are allowed to bring in expatriate. Otherwise, refers to as a green card and re-entry visa. So the 𝗕𝗲𝘅 will serve as a work permit, while the re-entry visa will enable travel in and out of the country. So the 𝗕𝗲𝘅 is showing, is what is saying that if you are having 𝗕𝗲𝘅 for your expatriate, it means that it's like a work permit. They came in for a particular work, and as far as after some time they will have to leave the country. While the re-entry visa has to be in form of those that have worked for some months, they want to go for leave, they want to go and greet their people, they have emergency to travel out. The re-entry visa will always grant them that permission to do so. So now, onto the next slide, it has to do with the short-term assignment. There are some expatriates that are just coming in. Some people just say, some company like, let's say some multinational companies, let's say some production manufacturing companies in Nigeria, they have several sophisticated machines that they use in their productions, and all these machines are actually imported into Nigeria. They are actually assembled, and they are actually all these machines are being brought into their permanent condition and location from other countries and being installed here in Nigeria by those expatriates, right? Because they know how to use those machines better. Maybe, for instance, they have issues with those machines. They will need to call them for emergency visits, in short form of short-term visit or assignment, to come and render those services or fix those machines with immediate effect. So these are assignments usually within 90 days. It's not more than, and the visa facilities granted under these categories are explained below. One, you have the business visa. That means what they are going to give you if you are coming in to stay for a short period of time as an expatriate. What they are going to give you is just a business visa. Then if you are coming in for a temporary work permit, if you are coming in for a short term, what they can also give you, it will be in form of temporary work permit as well as tourist visa. So when we say business visa, we say it covers entry to Nigeria for business meetings, for conference, workshops, seminars, and other similar purposes. That is the essence why they are giving that business visa. You are not staying for long. Why for temporary work permit, it allows the expatriate to work on a project or special assignment undertaken by Nigeria subsidiary or business partner. So it is a single journey entry visa, usually or issued by the Nigerian Embassy or Commissioner for a period of 3 months, 90 days. So they'll just give you a 3-month temporary work permit. Just come and fix whatever you want to fix and go back to your country. We have tourist visa, those that need to just come to Nigeria to come and know how it is, how in Nigeria, to come and carry out feasibility studies in terms of investment possibilities, whether it is a place, a country where they can invest, or it's a country they can actually look up to in terms of if they want to relocate from their country. So tourist visa is issued to foreigners visiting Nigeria for non-business related tourist engagement or visit to family members and friends resident in Nigeria. So some of them that want to come and see their friends here, some people that you are chatting, some persons have been chatting with some white guys from America and UK. You want to say, can you come? When will you come to Nigeria to visit me? So all those kind of stuff. So they will be issued tourist visa to come in. So now, what to do when an expatriate leaves Nigeria? You know, some companies have expatriate, and when the expatriate is leaving, they would not do anything again. So, and during tax audits, the relevant state internal revenue will be dragging them up and down. Even when the expatriate must have left the company for like years back, those internal revenue services, if you didn't provide some documentation, their assumption will still be that those expatriates are still existing or are still in Nigeria. By that, they will now carry out their best of judgment based on the information, previous information that they have, to also include those expatriates as part of your staff that are within the country. And by default, they will be overstating your revenue or the income of those staffs, which will also lead to higher tax to be payable, right? So what to do when an expatriate leaves Nigeria? As a company, if an expatriate is leaving Nigeria, what you need to do is that, first of all, the employer is required to apply for immigration deletion. They call it deletion letters. right? You have to apply for deletion upon completion of an expatriate assignment. So final departure from Nigeria as well. And this process will leave the employer of all immigration formalities, right? And the employer is required to submit original resident permit, known as the 𝗕𝘅𝑝AC, and departure ticket along with the application for deletion. So when you say the expatriate is no longer, the expatriates are no longer, let's say, working for that particular company again, the relevant tax authority will always want you to provide a deletion letter. And if you cannot provide a deletion letter, you don't have option than to ensure that, to assume that those expatriates are still on ground, are still working for that particular company. Now, the document necessary to establish actual income include rather, but not limited to, the contract of employment of the expatriate, the travel passport of the expatriate, the expatriate quota position granted to the company, and the monthly quota returns for the expatriate. So despite the fact that some companies are having expatriate, you also file a monthly quota. You have to file those monthly quota return with the Nigeria Immigration Services. So it's very, 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 as a company, as an individual, if you know you work for a company that have expatriates and they are leaving, please always make sure that you apply for that deletion letter. You ensure that you apply with the relevant authority to get all those information in form of deletion letters on behalf of those expatriates. If not, they will still assume that those expatriates still form part of the company's employees, and they will be subjecting them to payee computation at the end of the day. Thank you. I think with this, we'll come to the end of the conversation and the presentation. So I'll be open for any clarification, observation, addition, and questions that you guys have, and we can try them together. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Riwanu. Please, guys, let me see your reactions. We need to clap for him. Like, he has really done a lot. He has said a lot. He has really taught us so much. Please, let me see your reactions. Thank you. Let's appreciate our speaker. Thank you so much. So we've learned a lot this evening. Like, I won't lie, we've really learned a lot. Some key takeaways. He said personal income tax applies to both people in paid employment and those who are self-employed. So whether you are a salary earner or a business person, personal income tax applies to you. So benefit in kind provided to an employee is taxed. So all those extra benefits, all those extra perks we give to some employees, a particular portion or percentage of it is also taxed. So it's not free like that. It's not free. There is also a difference between expatriates and immigrants. And like he said, there's no separate law for expatriate income taxation. So what is applicable under personal income tax applies to both resident individuals and expatriates also. So thank you so much, Riwanu. At this point, we would be taking questions, contributions, etc. So for those who have questions for us, which I expect that all of us should have questions, please, for those who can unmute themselves, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions. I'll be picking one after the other. Then for those who cannot unmute, you can just type your questions in the chat box and our speaker is going to do justice to them. So, okay, the first person, Taiwo Musa, I can see your hand has been up already. So please, if you can unmute and ask your question. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Riwanu Usman. The session was really insightful. God bless you. More knowledge. So my question goes thus is the fact that I have a colleague. Let me use it like that. He is a senior colleague, right? We are paying payee for him, right, on the staff payroll. But I recently got to find out that he has what's it called now, a percentage that it takes from the company upon profits. like non-profit now, every business that comes into the company, there's a percentage that goes to him, you know, sometimes in dollars, sometimes in naira. So he reached out to me recently, like, was just asking a question like, okay, 𝗕𝗲, because of this new tax act, because we are not paying tax on that percentage or on the should I say commission that he earns whenever the company does those businesses. So I am now asking, when he asked that question, I just told him that since we are paying pay for him under the normal salary that is getting, that he does not necessarily have to pay pay on that commission that he earns from the company. This I am not 100% sure if I'm correct, but I just told him that because at least every time we file, when we file for payee, his name is on the on that schedule, and then we pay a percentage for him. So I'm now asking that that responses, is it correct? If it's not correct, how is this supposed to be treated? That's my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Is it 𝗕𝗲, right? Thank you very much for the wonderful question. So can you hear me? I hope you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
It's a good question, right? So first of all, if you go to section 33, right, B of Peter, I want to reference Peter for now. Seems to be the NTA is not coming into effect next year, but however, the NTA still mirrors what we have under Peter. So when it comes to taxation of an individual, what section 33 states is that the gross income or income of an individual has to do with income from all sources. I don't know if you understand, income from all sources. So that particular amount now, it now depends on what are you calling that amount. You call it commission, you call it commission, right? If I'm very clear. So, and in the law, right, which has to do with deduction and source, if you are terming it as commission, what you now do is that you have to now subject that amount to withholding tax. Do you get? Because if you go to the law, you see a portion whereby if you are paying out an amount of commission to a particular person, that amount will be liable to withholding tax. So two things. Now, for you to like maybe plan well in terms of your taxes, you now have to look at the effect. If you are charging withholding tax in this amount, in this commission, on this particular amount of commission, how much is going to be the tax? If I'm to subject it to payee, how much is going to be the tax on it? So you want to go with the lowest so that you guys will not end up paying paying higher taxes on that particular amount. But by default, that amount is liable to tax. Is that you add it to his income and subject it to payee, or you subject that amount as you have called it commission. Since you have called it commission, you subject it separately to withholding tax. I don't know if you understand, if you got my explanation.
Yes, I do. But so now, if I'm subjecting that amount to withholding, does it mean that we'll stop paying payee? Because can an individual be paying payee and be paying withholding at the same time?
Yeah. So there are two different taxes, right? Payee has to do with all employment incomes, right? So now commission now has to do with form of a transaction. You are paying him a commission because he has been able to bring in his, you said the person brought in a client, right? He brought in a client or brought in revenue. That is why they are paying him that particular amount as commission. So it doesn't matter. An individual can pay several taxes. Like for instance, now I think at the end of the day, you as an individual, you pay on your income. And when you go to supermarket to consume any form of product, you see pay tax at the same, you see pay VAT again. There are some items that you want to consume that tax is applicable to them. You have to, if you are consuming those items or you are, let's say, patronizing those items, you have to pay the taxes applicable to it. So for it to be that, since there's an agreement, they'll be paying in commission, it's already a transaction between him and the company, and he should be liable to withholding tax. That's why I said, if you want to make it easy, you just add it as that commission as part of his income and subject everything to what? To pay as you earn, so that you'll be getting the net. But if it is not being paid on a regular basis, maybe as at the interval where that commission is being paid, you can be subjecting it separately to either pay or withholding tax, because normally you are supposed to deduct it in line with the law. You are supposed to deduct tax from that commission.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Please, who else has questions for our speaker? Okay, I can see something in the comment section. Yusuf Abdul-Fatai says, considering that many informal sector operators like roadside mechanics and carpenters do not have fixed salaries and incur labor costs that form part of their income, how will their taxes be computed under the new tax system? Additionally, what provisions are in place to ensure fair taxation for these operators who often lack formal income records and whose earnings may be irregular? Did you get that one?
Yeah. So the idea now is that if I should understand this question very well, first of all, you know, the idea is when it comes to taxes, whether as a roadside mechanic or maybe you are supposed to be paying, you know, we have what we call self-assessment. You are supposed to be declaring all your income as a form of taxes. Sorry, declaring all your income in order to ensure that the tax yield or the usual taxes on those income are being paid. So because of the fact that Nigeria, due to the system that we have, system is not being automated, and everybody just earn income and they work free, they spend money without paying tax on them. Rather, so I can see where you reference the new tax act. I think if you look at the new tax act, what they are trying to say now is that the new tax is that everybody, or irrespective of any form of transaction you want to do, you need to have a tax, what they call the tax ID. Maybe next year when you go to the hospital and say that I'm not feeling fine, they'll say, where's your tax ID? Or you go to motor park, you want to climb board, they will ask you what's your tax ID. Or you go to maybe there are some things important things that you want to do. Whether you are a roadside somebody that they will say they will need your tax ID, without having it, you won't be able to have access to that particular item that you want to do. So in this instance, when you say consider that many informal sectors operators like roadside mechanics do not have fixed salaries and incur labor costs that form part of their income. Now, when they say informal sector, all these guys now, they are they are self-employed. They generate their income by themselves on a daily basis. And what the law says is that they are supposed to be declaring all this income at the end of the day. But that is not the case when it comes to Nigeria's situation. So by next year, I believe with what they are trying to set in terms of trying to make everything going digital, in terms of trying to put it in a platform whereby everybody will be in the tax net, all these people will definitely be brought into the tax net through their tax ID, right? And after which they would have to start paying taxes in all income that they have incurred. So when it comes to pay, you know, pay has two forms. You have the pay as you earn and the direct assessment. You understand? So, and there are instances where they say presumptive tax again. Presumptive tax is that if maybe the tax authority just come to your office or come to you where you are working as a laborer or as a carpenter, and they say, how far have you paid your tax? And you say, I'm not paid. They'll just use what they call, I think the law said, they'll just apply presumptive tax. They'll say, okay, we are assuming that your income is 100 million this year. We are giving you taxes that relate to that 100 million. So maybe when you see that particular figure, you shout and later declare your figure to them. So that presumptive tax is what they will now use to track all these individuals when they want to get taxes or when they want to bring them into the tax net. I don't know if it is well understood.
Yes, Riwano. I believe you've nailed it. So, like you said, presumptive taxes is what applies in this situation of informal sector operators, and also, like you said, it's basically based on estimation. They just pick some certain indicators and estimate how much they think your turnover would be, and tell you how much taxes to pay, and from there, you guys will carry it on. So, thank you for the explanation. Do we have any more questions, please? questions, or should we call it a day, considering a lot of us would have to go to work tomorrow? Okay, so in the absence of any further questions, we'll be calling it a day at this point. Thank you so much once again for joining us on this session. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful presentation. We really appreciate the knowledge sharing and all. So with this, I would say good night, everyone, and have a lovely night's rest. We'll meet again at the next webinar. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful.
All right. Good night.
Yeah.